Good day. Bless you. Thank you for tuning in again to another episode of the Intelligence Report. And we want to talk all things gold. Why? Because it seems that in Ghana, things are working out for the better in terms of gold. But when we look at the history of gold, we tend to ask a few questions, especially with the statistics that we seem to be given by various governments about gold reserves. Now, I find the findings very intriguing. Why? Because of a few factors. Now, number one, we're told that certain countries like the United States and China and Canada tend to have higher rates of gold production than the countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, when I look at these findings, the reason I find this to be strange is because on the continent of Africa over the past decade or two, we've had various things that have happened. First of all, Muammar Gaddafi was at one point trying to come out with something called the dinar, the gold-backed dinar, and was asking countries like the United States to pay for the exports from African countries with gold. And then shortly after he came up with this plan, we saw the invasion of Libya, we saw the destruction of that country.
According to some, it's about protecting civilians.
We must not tolerate this regime using military force against its own people.
Others say it's about oil.
The only reason they're interested with Libya is about the oil. You'd think we'd be in Iraq if the major export there was broccoli.
But some are convinced intervention in Libya is all about currency, specifically Gaddafi's plan to introduce the gold dinar, a single African currency made from gold, a true sharing of the wealth.
It's one of these things that you have to plan almost in secret, because as soon as you say you're going to change over from the dollar to something else, you're going to be targeted. There were two conferences on this, one in 96 and another one in the year 2000, called the World Mataba Conference, organized by Gaddafi. And everybody was interested, and I think most countries in Africa were keen.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars.
It is not the same again. Libya is in such a mess ever since Gaddafi was removed from power. But the other intriguing thing that I want us to kind of pay attention to is the fact that it is known that Libya, when it was invaded, gold was stolen from Libya and taken back to the United States. Now, the other strange occurrence that we need to look at is the fact that Fort Knox is due for an audit and has been due for an audit for a while.
For years, depository officials were pressured to open the vault for civilian inspection, but Fort Knox continued to refuse to allow the public inside. Finally, in 1974, for the first and probably last time, a dozen congressmen and 100 journalists were invited inside.
Fort Knox is synonymous with security. It's the place where America's gold reserves are stored. But are those legendary vaults actually empty? President Trump and Elon Musk want to see for themselves.
We're going to go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
Don't be totally surprised. We opened the door, we'll say, there's nothing here. They stole this too.
We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is there, because maybe somebody stole the gold.
But certain countries have been complaining over the past few decades that they don't believe their gold is still in Fort Knox. What is going to happen when a real audit takes place and people are able, or countries are able to go in and find out if their gold reserves actually are still in Fort Knox. Now, the reason why I mention all this, and you're probably saying, what has all this got to do with Africa? Well, you've got to understand, Ghana is one of the biggest gold producers on the continent of Africa, if not the biggest producer of gold on the continent of Africa. And recently, because of the uniting of Mali, Burkina, and Niger, the uniting of these three Sahel countries just above Ghana has caused something to happen in terms of gold. Now, in Burkina Faso, they have decided to no longer permit foreign companies to come in and extract the gold by themselves.
Burkina Faso's Bongo and Wagnin gold mines now belong to the government. Until Tuesday, the 27th of August 2024, the Bongo and Wagnin gold mines were owned by an African mining
Mali's
company.
military junta is taking control of its precious minerals by seizing artisanal and industrial mining sites in a bid to change the country's fortune. Several high-profile Western companies have had their employees arrested and are being forced to comply with new mining code that requires Mali to control at least 35% of their profits.
And the result of that happening has been a knock-on effect for Ghana. And Ghana has also said that foreign companies can no longer come into the country and buy gold from individuals. They have to pass through a government organization which is called the GoldBod.
Okay, this is the GoldBod Act. This sets up the GoldBod that will streamline Ghana's gold sector, including our exports, to make sure that Ghana earns more value for money from our gold mining exports.
And ever since this has happened, it has revolutionized things in terms of currency and economic growth in this particular region. About a year ago, even up until a few months ago, the cedi was depreciating to the point where at one point it was 15 cedis to $1, and around, I think at one point it got to around 21, if not 22 cedis per pound. But now things have reversed significantly. The cedi is now approximately, since Ghana made these moves in terms of defending its gold, not just talking about gold reserves, we're talking about mining and extracting gold from the ground. Ever since this has happened, the cedi against the dollar is now, as I'm speaking, and it's probably going to be changed by the time some of you watch this, it's become stronger, and it's about 10 point something to the dollar. And the pound, as far as I'm aware, it was around 13 and change, whatever basis points to the dollar, to the pound rather. And so these interesting developments make us realize that change is happening on the continent. Ghana is becoming a stronger economy in terms of growth. The government intervened recently in Ghana and brought the price of transportation down. Now, you would probably think I just talk a good game, where Ghana is concerned. The thing I don't like about Ghana is when prices go up here, it's a fight to get Ghanaian merchants and so on and so forth to bring prices down when the currency becomes stronger. And so that's going to be, I believe, the next fight that this present government has on its hands. So be praying, and those of you that want to come to Ghana, you can get in contact with me. I will leave right in the description, I'll leave an email address where you can contact me if you want to know more about coming to the continent, or you just want to come on holiday and you want some tips, or you want to move to Ghana, or if you want some other advice in terms of doing business in Ghana. Bless you. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week.